Good evening, Thunder Wizards. Sunday evening for me, 4 o'clock p.m. Don't know what time it is wherever you are. Going to continue with the same kind of thing we were talking about day before yesterday, which was, what did we say? The difference between the soul purpose and the soul desire. So we're going to keep on that theme. We're going to talk about the difference between Orlog and Wyrd, which is another way of saying Dharma versus Karma. So let's start with, I love language. Let's start with the word Orlog. I really like that word. It's been translated as origin law. Could also be translated as law of the past. So, in order to fully understand how Orlog is your destiny, Orlog is also, truth is that Wyrd is translated as destiny, and that destiny is only a part of Wyrd. Wyrd is more than destiny. Orlog is destiny is a better translation for Orlog, because the idea behind Orlog, first, remember everything starts with an assumption. So when we're talking about Orlog, we must make an assumption that you are following your true path. If you are following your true path, you are following your origin law, your Orlog. Now, you may not be following your true path, in which case you are not following your Orlog. So I say that before we look at the word and how the word defines how the energy works. So origin law means that the past, your past, is the law. It's written. It's a law written in the fabric of Wyrd, written in the fabric of the universe, and it is determining your future. It is your ideal future. It's not necessarily the future you're going to experience. It means that based on the assumption that you are in fact on your path, that you are aligned and you are following what I would call your soul desire, then your Orlog, the law of your past, is guiding you forward to your highest destiny. So to understand that concept, I'll come back to it again, we have to once again look at Wyrd, W-Y-R-D, where of course we get our modern word weird from. And it shows you the power that this concept had, that even during the Middle Ages and Christianity, the Christian religion could not get rid of that word. Christian religion got rid of a lot of other words. Wod, for instance, got rid of that word. We don't use that anymore. We don't use that word anymore. Ve, we don't use that word anymore. Will, we use that word. And this was the divine trinity of the ancient Northern Europeans. Woden, Will, and Weoh. Odin, Vili, and Ve. So willpower, couldn't get rid of willpower. That's something we have to have, so we use that word a lot, will. But we don't use the word wod or we or Weoh anymore. Wyrd is the same thing. Wyrd is probably the most revered spiritual concept in ancient Northern European cosmology. And it is because it is so powerful that it controls the fate of not only human beings, but the gods themselves. The gods themselves must obey the norns, the giantesses who weave the past, the present, and the future. So Orlog deals with the past, because Wyrd is 3 giantesses starting in the present moment. Everything is in the present moment. There is no past or future. The present moment is continuously unfolding. The word that the Norse used was verdandi, and one translation I've seen for that is immediacy. Right here, right now, continuously right now. And this continuous right now, this continuous immediacy, creates ur, the past. It becomes a law. So this is important to understand. Even though Orlog represents your highest destiny, you can create a negative Orlog, or I should say a less than ideal Orlog. Because once you think a thought, I take that back. I take that part back. Once you make a decision, once you adopt a belief, once you create an assumption, and when you take an action, when you make a decision, those actions, they're all actions. Thoughts and feelings are not actions. They're reactions. They're just responses. Reaction isn't even the right word. They're responses to stimuli. That's it. People ask me all the time, if I have negative feelings, is that going to create a negative future for me? No. No, it's not about your feelings. It's not about your responses. It's not about even your thoughts. It's about the reactions to them, the actions that you take, the beliefs that you choose to hold, the assumptions that you make, and then, of course, the actual actions that you take. Those create a past. Those become the law. They become cemented. Once, if you're thinking about it, it hasn't become cemented yet. So let's get rid of the New Age, feel good. Listen, I've got nothing wrong. I have nothing against feeling good. Believe me, I go very far out of my way to feel good as often as possible. But the idea, of the secret of Abraham Hicks, of manifestation, all of that, is that whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking about, that creates your future because you attract it. And that's only partially true. The truth is, and I've proven it, trust me, I've proven it. You could have the worst feelings and the worst thoughts. You could be thinking murder, theft, the worst thoughts you can imagine. You can be thinking those things. But if you are taking actions that are in alignment with your higher consciousness, those actions are what count. And I can promise you, those actions will create a positive future, and you may still feel crappy as you're experiencing your positive future. So please don't get wrapped up in thoughts and feelings. It's about action. This is a universe of actions. This is a universe that is woven, since we're talking about Wyrd, it is woven with life force energy that literally creates what's around you. It is a physical entity. It has consciousness and it reacts like consciousness. We react not to other people's thoughts. There might be a person walking down the street thinking a thought, and you might go, wow, that's got a weird vibe to him. But we don't really respond to that. We respond to the actions that they take. The universe is the same way. The universe responds like a living organism to your actions. So, whenever we are in the moment and we choose a belief, make an assumption, make a decision, take an action, that becomes cemented in Ur, which creates the law that you will follow, which will be the future. The future is debt, karma. So karma, we'll get to that. Karma is just the payoff of whatever it is you've invested in. That's it. It's interest. It's just paying off what you've invested in. It's nothing more than that. There's no such thing as good or bad karma. It's just the law of action and reaction. I like the idea of Orlog because when I break it down, the assumption and the teaching of the word of Orlog is that it assumes that you are in alignment with your highest purpose, your highest desires. And as a result of that, you are creating a law every time that you have an action, a belief towards that desire, you keep creating this law of the past, which then propels you forward to your highest destiny. But truly, if we look at Orlog, the word itself does not guarantee your highest destiny. It just simply means the law of what you have chosen to do with your actions and how that propels you forward. So now we've kind of looked at Wyrd. Wyrd is the present creating the past, which weaves the future. And all of the gods, even the gods, must follow this. So I know that there are people that want to pray to the Norns, that want to worship the Norns. The Norns, if it really comes down to it, the Norns respond to you. They might help you figure out how to do it, how to create your future, how to create your best Wyrd for yourself. But they must follow what you tell them to do. That's it. They're so in that sense, you are in control of them. You are in control of them. Now, the one thing that goes against that as we go deeper and deeper is that you are a slave to your unconscious. Everybody is, all of us. And our unconscious has a lot of commands that we have placed in there. And we started creating this database of assumptions and commands when we were toddlers. When we became 3 and 4 and 5. This is why, how a parent deals with a child is so important. Because, the kids are going to learn based off of you. And if you're able to reflect back to a child their highest Orlog, which is what a true parent is supposed to do. And of course, we're all human, so all parents make mistakes, but that's the ideal. We reflect back to the child their highest Orlog. Then they will start creating assumptions and beliefs that will be in alignment with positive reinforcement from the universe. Because the universe is our mother and will respond to that. Now, while we're talking about that, if you have a negative, here's another thing that my thinking has changed a little bit on. Again, if we go back to things like The Secret and all of that, they'll say, well, if you think negative things, then negative things will happen to you. In other words, if you're thinking bad thoughts or if you're thinking, crappy thoughts about yourself, then crappy things are going to happen to you. And that's just slightly true. My experience is that it's more, the universe really is programmed to give you the best of everything. It wants to do that. It's programmed to do that. But it is programmed to not support your bullshit. And so it's not, what we think is that if we're trapped in our victim mentality, we think that the universe is doing something to us. It's not giving something to us. It's empty. It's cold. And the empty and cold part is right, but it's really more like the universe is like, I'm not going to co-sign that for you. I remember once when I was a little kid, and I did something. I can't remember what I did. I think I stole one of my mom's cigarettes. I think that's what I did. I stole one of my mom's cigarettes, and one of my parents caught me with it, and I said, "Oh, my brother gave it. My brother Clark gave it to me." And so they took him aside, and then he afterwards, it was one of the finest moments my brother ever had. He said, "Hey, look, I don't care. You can do whatever you want. If you want to smoke, go ahead. But I'm not going to take the rap for you." And that's what the universe does. When you buy into anything negative about yourself, you had crappy parents. They gave you the belief that you're a piece of crap. I feel for you. But you are still responsible, even at 3 and 4, for deciding that you're a piece of crap. You chose to believe that. I understand it's very, very difficult not to do that because you want your parents' approval. So I feel for you. It's almost impossible for somebody at 4 years old to go, my parents are wrong. I'm a really wonderful person. It's kind of hard to do that. Nevertheless, the universe holds you responsible for that assumption. It gets stuck in there. It becomes a command. And so when you start acting on your negative self-reflection, the universe just says, I'm just not going to support that. And your experience is that nobody loves you, the universe doesn't give you anything, and then all of these horrible things, and then you do more things that are out of alignment, trying, like a little kid having a temper tantrum, and some kids get away with it. They get negative attention, and their parents give them stuff and spoil them. So we try to do that with the universe. I can remember doing that. This is why I don't pray, your typical Christian prayer. Oh, God, please give me this. Oh, God, get me out of this problem. Because it's just a waste of time. If your actions are not in alignment with your Orlog, your true Orlog, the universe is just simply going, I can't co-sign that for you. Sorry, I just can't do it. And so, again, this idea that what you think, if you think negative, you get negative, that means that the universe is arbitrary, and I do not believe that. That is not my experience. My experience is absolutely the opposite. The older I get and the more that I practice what I'm teaching, the more my experience is that the universe is primed and ready to immediately respond to your intentions that are in alignment with yourself. So that's Orlog versus Wyrd. Could go on and on and on and on about that. Let's talk about Dharma versus Karma. So I like the idea of Wyrd because Wyrd contains everything. It contains Orlog, and it contains, it contains Dharma, and it contains Karma, both. So your Dharma is your Orlog. Your Dharma is, what you are here to accomplish. You are here to do that. And your Dharma has both what we talked about last time, your soul desire and your soul purpose. We associate it more with your soul purpose than with your soul desire, but they're intimately linked. You can't have one without the other. If you are following your soul desire, you will be following your Dharma, period. If you are following your Dharma, it means that you started by following your soul desire. Your soul desire is the blinking light, the arrow. Go in this direction. Go here. You follow that, and then your Dharma will come out of it. As I said in some cases yesterday, your soul purpose and your soul desire are going to be the same thing. If your soul desire is to be a singer, that might be also your soul purpose. And you get a 2-for-1. Can't go wrong with that. In my case, it doesn't work that simply. My soul desire is to surf right now. I don't know. It's always been the most important thing in my life. I just didn't realize it. But it's the one thing that really just gives me the medicine in my life and makes me happy. I have to have it. If I don't have it, bad things start happening for me. And so that's not my sole purpose. My sole purpose is what I'm doing right now. I'm doing this right now because I didn't want to work a job. I talk to clients and they'll say, and I explain the same thing all day. This is all I do. Some version of this. I'm trying to get at this from some angle somewhere. Even if I'm talking about your astrology or whatever, I'm trying to get to this one core issue. And so I'm sharing with people and they go, oh, well, you're well established. And I'm like, as if you're well established, you've got all this, you've done all this stuff. And it's like, what, you think that there's some school out there that there's, I got some degree in being an online thunder wizard? There's no degree out there for what I'm doing. This didn't come from me establishing myself. I was an out-of-work actor, who couldn't get work or I probably could have, who didn't get work as an actor. I was an out-of-work martial arts teacher. I was an out-of-work, Qigong teacher. Those were the things that I was trying to make money at, and I wasn't doing very well at. So I wasn't really established at anything. But this is how I know this works. You follow the thing that gives you the greatest joy. And then from that, if that doesn't come directly from going after that, then you will find your purpose, because for me, my entire life is based around, I don't want to work for other people. I only want to spend my time doing things that I want to do. So I asked myself, what can I do to make money doing what I would do anyway? And this is what you see. I would do this anyway because I can't keep my mouth shut. I have to babble on and on about what goes on in my brain. Otherwise, I'm a babbling idiot. I walk down the street talking to myself. So I have to do this just to function. And this again tells you how the universe works. You are created. The needs within you are the things that you're supposed to do. You're wired to do and be a certain thing, and that is the best thing that you can give to the universe. So your Dharma is that path that not only gives you happiness and fulfillment, money, prosperity, a living, but it is the thing that the rest of the universe needs. Listen, I've done a lot of stuff in terms of studied with a lot of different teachers, and I've done a lot of different things. And yeah, so what? I swear to you, I don't have any pride associated with any of that stuff, any more than some guy who says I built model airplanes. Well, good for you. That's what it's like for me. I come and I do this. People say things to me. They give me really nice compliments. All that means is that I am following my true path. That's all it means. And if your path is to build model airplanes, if that's your path in life, that's your Dharma in this life, then you will have a following of people, model airplane builders, who will tell you all kinds of wonderful things about you. Man, what you said about building that World War II fighter jet, that was, I don't know, they had fighter jets in World War II. That World War II B-52 bomber, the way you told me how to glue that tail section on, oh my God, it just I'm telling you, it's all that it is. So get rid of this idea that you have to be something. The only thing that you have to be, and the only thing you have to accomplish, is that you want to accomplish anyway. It's just that simple. And then we can talk about the whole challenges associated with that, and that's a whole other. I don't feel like getting into that right now. So I'm happy to take any questions you have about Wyrd, about Orlog, about Dharma, Karma. I'll take any questions you have about anything. But that's what was on my mind today. I guess before I get off, let me say this. The last part of the title is how to prevent bad luck. So now that I've given you the background of the definitions of these things, what I'm thinking about lately is, the one time there was one time in the past year where I learned something again. I became out of alignment with myself. What I mean by that is that I took actions that I really regretted. I took some actions that the next day, even that same day and the next day, I felt just horrible. I didn't feel guilty. I just felt gross. Just inside. And that's when it dawned on me, because this was going on when my fiance, my spiritual wife, was dying. So I was barely hanging on. I was not a happy guy. And so I was trying to do things to make myself feel better. And the end result was that I made some decisions that took me out of my alignment, and I felt it immediately. And it was this feeling of being unmoored from the universe and just floating around unmoored. It was a horrible, empty feeling. It was a feeling like I had lost control of myself. And then I realized the whole idea of integrity, that being in my integrity was the most valuable thing that I had. And even if I was miserable, even if I was suicidally miserable, that was better than being out of my integrity. And I saw, I was able to see, there are people that do things and you're like, how can that person do that? How can they keep doing things like that to themselves and to other people? We can't fathom it. That's the sign of somebody who is out of their integrity. And they keep doing that thing that they think is going to bring them happiness and satisfaction. This is what I'm talking about now, is the lowest vibration of Rahu. Astrology.thunderwizard.com. Rahu is the north node of the moon that represents our obsessions, our addictions, on the negative level. Rahu doesn't have a body. He's a head without a body. So he has all of these thoughts and all of these desires, and he has this tremendous appetite. And he just eats and eats, but it just falls through his neck. So there's never a feeling of satiation. So it represents addictions. I mean, I remember reading a study about cocaine, and I think it was rats, that given the opportunity, rats would just keep ingesting cocaine until they died. That once they became dependent, they just wouldn't stop until they were dead. That's Rahu. There's just no control. And so the one thing that you have that can prevent bad luck is staying in your integrity. And that's really important. Because when you go after your Orlog, your soul desire, your Dharma, you will, I'm not saying you might, I am guaranteeing it, you will run into your own resistance. And resistance for some of you it will feel like death. You will fear the resistance of going after your true path more than you fear a gun to your head. For some of you, it will be that intense. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just giving you the facts here. And you have to, when you're in those places, you won't know. You'll be confused. You won't know what is the right way to go, what is the right thing to do. Now, in those instances, you will be in your integrity. You will make mistakes and stumble and fall and all that, and that's okay. But you will still be in your integrity. And so don't let the negative feelings, the fears, the doubts, the self-hatred, all the stuff that's going to come up when you go after your highest soul desire, don't let that fool you into thinking you're out of integrity. You're not. You're out of integrity when you take extreme actions towards avoiding that. When you try to avoid the resistance that comes to you, which is your lessons that you want to learn. You can't go after your soul desire without learning your lessons. You can't. You can't have one without the other. And so when you go after that, there will be a strong desire to avoid that pain. When you take extreme action to avoid that pain, that is what takes you out of your integrity. Once you're out of your integrity, again, the universe is like, you're on your own. We're not co-signing this. You are on your own. And you may continue to try to take actions like Rahu to fill the stomach that doesn't exist. Then you create a different Orlog, a different past law, because your assumptions, your choices, your actions will be cemented into the past, which will then be the law for what will come next for you. A lot of people ask, how can I change? They want to change negative this or change negative that. And I say to them, forget about trying to change things. All you have to do is just align with what makes you happy and go do it. Worry about getting what you want, not trying to avoid. Trying to avoid it is like fighting with a boa constrictor. Boa constrictors, you know anything about constrictor snakes, they wrap around you and they're just nothing but muscle and they squeeze. And they don't like squeeze and let go and squeeze. They just squeeze until you breathe. And so as you're fighting them and you exhale, they squeeze tighter. You can't breathe anymore. You exhale to try and get more breath, they squeeze tighter. Pretty soon you can't inhale at all and you suffocate. And that is, I don't know what I was trying to make some kind of comparison there. But anyway, this is what it's like. When you continue to take action out of your integrity, that's what just keeps happening. And there is a very strong perception that you can't stop. But you can. You can at any moment. At any moment, no matter how bad, how badly you're creating negative karma for yourself, at any moment, you can first and foremost change your assumption about the universe, because we never walk out of our integrity without having the assumption that the universe will not provide your needs. It starts with that. So this is why I am so ruthless with victim mentality. I am ruthless with it, because that, if I can destroy that, then we have some place to go. But if you are determined to have your victim mentality, I can't help you. But if you're engaging with me, I'm going to go to battle. And that's just my way. Maybe somebody else will be more compassionate. I'm working on that. But when I see that, it's like a venomous snake. I see it and I want it, like a mongoose. I want to destroy it. Because I can't help anybody as long as they are married to their victim mentality, whatever it is. But if at any point in time, no matter how bad things are, if at any point in time you are willing to stop and choose, not feel, not think, but choose to adopt the belief that the universe wants to give you what will bring you the greatest happiness. Once you do that, that is the first death blow to that snake that's wrapped around you. It won't kill him immediately, but it will definitely rock him and he will start to let go. And if you keep doing that, if that's all you have, I do this too. This is what astrology.thunderwizard.com. We all have an Ishta Devata, which is a planet that has chosen you, and there will be deities associated with that planet. I talk to my Ishta all the time. As I'm thinking about it, I do this so often I forget about it. But maybe I should get a piece of paper and I should write down, make a little X every time that I do it. But I run into doubt. There's just no point in my life where I don't run into some kind of doubt. There isn't something that I have to untangle. There isn't some kind of challenge I have to go through and wrestle with my integrity. It happens every single day. And I say to my Ishta, I trust you. I trust you. I'll start to get anxious about whatever it is. And then I'll say to my Ishta Devata, I'll say, I trust you. I trust you. I know that you want what is best for me, and I trust you to guide me to that. That's one of the best ways to use your Ishta Devata. You can do that on a daily basis. In fact, if you can do that without knowing what it is that you need, that's also a really good thing, because then your Ishta can go in the future and move things around so that it will help align you. You don't have to really know what's going on half the time. Just that thing of trust. This is the first thing I teach in the shamanic workshop. The free, what did I call it? Free shamanism certification. You go on my channel and look for it. And that's the first thing I teach. The first thing, if you want to make any progress as a shaman, you have to trust the universe. Without that, you can't do anything. Nothing will happen if you don't have that. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts about that. All right, I'm going to take a short break. I'll come back. First, let me see if I have to make my little speech. Let's see. We got a few people here? Yeah, so if you're new to the channel, please only write me a question. This is a question and answer. It's not a free-for-all. The way I know that you're writing me a question is you write the word question in all caps and then write a well thought out, well formulated, logical question. If you say anything else, I'm going to bypass you. And unfortunately, sometimes I miss people's questions. So the less you can do that, the better it will be for the community of people who want to ask questions and learn. Okay? All right. So I shall be back momentaneously. All right, we're back. So let us take a look at the questions. All right, let's see here. Let's find a question. Bill Burnham question. Origin law equals to the value of 0? I have no idea what that means. Are you trying to say, anyway, I don't know what that means. As in reactions can become positive and or negative, do you see any relation to the Pythagorean theorem and the Trinity? No. I'm not saying that there isn't. That's just way over my head. I am not that smart. Sorry. You would have to explain that to me in a way that I can understand it. My feeble surfer brain just doesn't understand any of that stuff, so I can't say yes or no. Sounds interesting. Chainsaw Bill, he says, I have a question. My ancestors is enemy of the Norse ancestors. Who is that? Somebody up I don't know who that is. My ancestors is the enemy of the Norse ancestors. Is it safe to use rune or study runes magic? Of course. So the runes are not a cultural thing. The runes are an energetic force. They're elemental forces, and the elements, just like air. It's like saying the Norse people drank water and breathed air, and I'm their enemy. Is it safe for me to drink water and breathe air? Of course, because you're human, and these things are here to provide for you. The runes are the same. So whatever warfare there was between your ancestors and theirs was a cultural thing. It's not a spiritual thing. Okay, so you guys just need to write the word question, otherwise I might miss it. That's why I ask people to write question in all caps, otherwise, because I don't know if somebody's just babbling or dumping their opinion. And I say that because I see a couple of questions here that I have to kind of look for. Good afternoon, sir. I would like to ask you a question. Johannes Elias A.P. Rauer says, if I may. Yes, sir, you may. I don't know if you read the book called Uthark, Night Side of the Runes. I haven't. And I don't talk about other teachers most of the time. The reason for that is because I'm here to talk about what I've taught. I have a bunch of books. I have a bunch of videos. I have a bunch of DVDs. And I have it's a big body of subject, but I have a clear direction for what I teach. I want to answer those questions or whatever it is I'm talking about. I don't want to answer questions about somebody else. So, you can take all that out and get to your question. You could ask. He puts Fehu at the end of the rune row, and no, I don't do that. I will say this: if you read my book Rune Shamanism, which I recommend, if you want to understand some of what I believe about the runes, you can buy my book Rune Shamanism, and you can go to michaelwilliamdenny.com to find all my books. If you buy the book Rune Shamanism, I believe I talk about that I think that Fehu was the last rune to be put into the Futhark, even though it was put in the beginning. And the reason for that is because I believe that the runes were an Ice Age science that were used by the Ice Age Germanic peoples, and it wasn't until they tamed the Uruj, which is the second rune. It wasn't until they tamed the Uruj and turned them into Fehu, cattle. And then cattle became extremely important. It was like the first thing you needed. In order to survive, you had to have some Fehu. You had to have some cattle in order to eat and make clothes and make weapons and tools. And so they put it at the beginning. That's my belief. I don't know what this other guy's talking about. And again, I don't talk about other teachers. So I did find something in there that I could talk about. But again, I prefer that you don't ask me about other people or other people's teachings. You don't mean to be, but it's rude. You're on my channel. Ask me about the stuff I teach, not about somebody else. All right. Bill C. Question. I've never knew about woodwives before you mentioned. Woodwives. A woodwife is, first off, the Germanic people worshipped trees. They worshipped nature as much, if not more, than any other people I've seen. We're talking about pre-Christian Germanic people. And I was talking about this yesterday. The irony is that we walked away from our ancestral traditions. And what is the race that is most responsible for the cutting down of trees? Europeans. It's because we walked away from that. And this is what happens when, again, walking out of your integrity, this is what happens. As a culture, we walked out of our integrity, and we became the most destructive to the environment. Now, other people have now caught on and are doing their part to destroy the environment and are trying to beat us at it. But we started it, and it's because we walked away from the tremendous reverence that we had for nature. Our ancestors worshipped trees, and they understood that trees had spirits. And there were people whose job was to be woodcutters. That was their job. They'd go out in the forest and they would cut down trees and get wood and bring it back so that, and then barter with the rest of the village, for milk and cheese or whatever, so that people had firewood. Now, they had to get permission from the tree to do it. And when they cut a tree down, when they selected the right tree that allowed them to cut it down, they would carve a rune into it. I don't know what the rune was, but they would carve a rune into the tree, which would give a home to the spirit of the tree, which was called a woodwife. Now, those woodcutters also, when they were out in the forest, they had to be aware of the woodwives that are wandering around. Because if you saw a beautiful woman, especially a beautiful young woman, walking through the trees and wanting you to, come this way, you didn't know what you were dealing with. And if the woman turned around and there was a hollowed out tree stump, then you knew it was a woodwife, and you did not, because that could be a woodwife that had been taken out of her home, and she was angry. So you had to be really careful with them. So that's what he's asking about woodwives. So he says, I never knew about woodwives before you mentioned. I hunt in an area that has started to be logged and had large fire last year. In the highly off chance I see a woodwife, what do I do? Well, I think I answered your question. You be very nice to her and kind, and the thing is that it's hard for that kind of stuff to happen nowadays. That's because we have desecrated and we have desanctified nature to the point where if there is a woodwife around, you might not even know it. And that is, there was a time, I was, again, talking about this yesterday with somebody, when I used to go backpacking. I'd go backpacking up in the Sierras, highest mountains in the lower 48 states, 14,000 feet. I'd go backpacking, huge wilderness in those mountains. And I'd be 20 miles away from society, and I'd stay out there for 2 weeks by myself. And I could feel the power. That place still has power. You can feel the power of the trees. You can feel the power of the rocks. You can feel, all kinds of crazy stuff goes on in those mountains. Especially the longer that you're out there, the more that your vibration aligns with the earth, you begin to see things that you don't normally see. So our society might not even know that. So it's possible you could go out there and you might not run into them. I remember I went traveling across country, and I had come to the conclusion, based on my time in the Sierras, that after you get to about 8,000 feet, you're in a lot of really powerful energy. And I thought that was true for all mountains, as long as there were pine trees and high elevation. That's what I thought did it. And I was traveling across the country, and I traveled through Colorado. And Colorado has different mountains. They're not made out of the same rocks, so there's some different energy there. But I remember being at 8,000 feet and hiking in this beautiful forest, and I felt nothing. And I'm like, what is wrong? I normally can feel all the energy. I can't feel anything. And it turns out I kept driving, and I just went over the hill. I was out hiking, and then I got back in my car, and I drove over the hill, and then there was Aspen. It was like, oh, there's this big, huge city that's full of ego and money and pompous skiers, and I went, oh, no wonder. If I was a wood wife, I'd get the hell out of there too, because the mindset, the idiocy of people and society and all that had infected that area. So I learned something that, when a place is wild, it's a bunch of different things, but one of it is that humans create an aura around their thoughts. Now we can talk about what thoughts can do. The reason why we live in cities is because we bunch up together so that we can keep each other aligned on the frequency of whatever society is into. Because, and if you've ever been in real wilderness by yourself for a long period of time, you realize how much you need society and other people to tell you how to align your thinking. After 6 days, if you're in the wilderness for 6 days, you start to realize that money is just a concept. It doesn't really exist. And that success is just a concept. It doesn't really exist. And oh my God, people die over this. People commit suicide. And like in Japan, people commit suicide because they haven't accomplished enough in society. It doesn't have any meaning. It's just an idea. But we are more afraid of the emptiness that the universe brings through nature. There are places in the woods up in these local mountains I will never go again, because I have tapped into some of those vortexes and I came apart and all kinds of things happened, and I will never go back. And that's a lot coming from me. This is the reason why our ancestors had sacred groves that you didn't, go into. One of the things that the Romans did when they were conquering a society, if they were a more primitive society, a barbarian society, they knew that they had sacred groves, and they would go in and chop down the sacred groves because it was, and imagine the negative karma that they got from all those spirits. But that was a sign that, hey, we're even stronger than your ancestors, than your gods. There were forests that, again, these are the same people that now, just clear cut forests, whole mountainsides. These are the same race of people. Our my people do this. And their ancestors, before the Romans came and dominated, we adopted Roman society. Before that happened, there were sacred groves that you weren't allowed to go in. If you found yourself in a sacred forest, you had to get off of your horse and you had to walk as quietly as possible, and you couldn't talk because you did not want to disturb the spirits there. If you fell, you had to crawl the rest of the way out. Now imagine what a tremendous shift in thinking happened for that same society to turn into the society that goes and just clear cuts entire forests without even thinking twice about it. This is why we live in cities, so that we can stay on the same vibe. We're afraid of what the wilderness will do to our thought, because eventually nature will take you to a place of emptiness where you will die to yourself and you really want to see reality. That's what nature will do. This is what global warming is all about. You want to know why? We have the technology to stop it. Why don't we? One reason: unconscious fear and hatred of infinity that comes through nature. This is the only reason that we are unconsciously destroying the environment. It's the only reason. I take it all the way back. This is why I say that Christianity is the single worst thing that has ever happened to the entire history of the planet. Had it not been for that, I do not believe we would have this problem. So, people say, why do you give Christianity such a hard time? This is, I try to unpack this. I get this stuff is in me, and I see it instantly. I see all these connections. And I try to then unpack it and explain it to people so that you can see. So, anyway, that was from the Woodwife question. Mad Sweeney's Beer question, how do we acknowledge success? How do we acknowledge success and good things that are not a bag of money or some form of money, since that's all we are conditioned to look for as a guideline of success? Makes me want to ask you why you asked that question. I mean, I get what you're saying. How do you acknowledge success that is not a bag of money? I don't know, but it sounds like you're in conflict with your own financial success. Look, money is just energy. It's nothing more than energy. In rune readings, Fehu can mean money, but it can also mean energetic support. If I'm looking at a rune reading for a relationship and Fehu reversed comes up, like if somebody asks, what's the biggest issue in my relationship, and Fehu reversed comes up, it means lack of energetic support. Lack of support. Lack of, I believe in you. That's Fehu too. I believe in you. Money is the universe saying, I believe in you. So from your question, it sounds like you have a real conflict with money. It sounds like you have guilt surrounding money. And maybe I'm just projecting, but I totally get it. Totally get it. I spent years in real conflict because I thought money was wrong. Money was unspiritual. On the other side of that, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Money will not do anything for you. Money has one function only, and that function is to provide the resources for you to fulfill your soul desire. I live in a 2-bedroom house. I rent. I won't tell you how much I pay for rent. It's a lot of money. 3 blocks from the beach here in Southern California, in an extremely, one of the wealthiest places on earth. And it's one of the last, houses. This, whoever owns this could, I don't even know how many millions of dollars they could get to bulldoze this and, create one of those pillboxes. That's what's going up around me all over the place. The reason I live here isn't because I have any interest in paying a lot of money in rent. The reason I live here is because right now I want to live and surf that beach, 3 blocks in that direction. And this is the perfect location to do that. I want to live and work where I play. So I work from home. It costs X amount of money for me to live. I made the decision when I saw exactly where I wanted to live, and this was a while back. I didn't have a heck of a lot of money, and I said, first I started doing, how much can I afford? Well, I could afford that, and what I'm thinking is like really crappy studio apartments that are surrounded by noise and all that, and I'm too old for that. Forget that nonsense. I didn't have the money, and I said, I want to live there. And then I said, how much is it going to cost for me to live there? And I decided, I worked it out in my head, it's going to cost X amount per month. And then I went, okay, that's what I'm going to make. And then I said, what do I have to do to make that kind of money doing what I do? How many clients do I need? How many? And then I said, I'm going to have X amount of clients and make this amount of money. And I intended it. And I knew I was going to get it. You know how I knew it? Because I knew that my soul desire was to surf that beach. And the universe has to provide me the resources to have my soul desire. Now, if my soul desire was to live in a cabin like I've done in the middle of the woods, then my financial needs are going to be far less. And so my success, it's all proportional. I could be making far less money and even have more because I'm not paying nearly as much in living expenses. So to answer your question, it's not about money. Get that out of your head. Why you're fighting with yourself about money, I understand, but I want to say I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. Decide what you want and then just honestly look at how much does it cost to live like that and then go after your soul desire, and the universe will provide it for you if you don't have a weird thing about money. If you want to play that bullshit game about money isn't spiritual, spiritual people, I don't need that, I'm spiritual, I don't need money. You do need resources to do what you want. Maybe I need more than you do. Maybe you want to be, I don't know, maybe you want to be a helicopter collector. That's going to cost a hell of a lot more money than I have, but I don't need it. You're going to need it. It's just energy. Money is just energy. It is nothing else. So when I hear questions like that, it tells me you've got some kind of conflict. You've got a judgment about energy because it doesn't exist. I wish I had a paper. I wish I had a dollar bill. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a symbol. But this is how bartering works. People say, I don't want to use money, I barter. Money is bartering. You give me this symbol in exchange for whatever service I provide. I give that symbol to the grocer and he gives me food. It's bartering. So get over the false ideas about that. Get over the false spirituality. Get over whatever ego-driven issues you have against money or fears or whatever. Bottom line is, if you do what you want, you'll get everything you need. Elia Joseph question. I know my path, my Dharma. But how do I make that jump from a 9-to-5 job into my path with no guarantee as to my next source of income? I followed my soul desire once, but the doubt was strong. All right, so first off, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I have my doubts, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you know your path. So assuming that you know your path, how do you make the jump from a 9-to-5 job into your path? Real simple, you just start doing it. Let's take a singer, for example. Let's say your path is to be a singer. You're working a 9-to-5 job and you don't have time. You just start in whatever way you can. Technology is so advanced now that you can turn your home computer into a sound studio. You can start doing it now. Maybe you don't have the time to do it all the time, but you can do it now, upload it onto YouTube. You can go and do open mics. You can go, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. So people work while they're doing it. And what will happen is, if it truly is your path, then what's going to happen is there's going to come a time where you'll be given a choice between, well, should I do my job or should I do that? And sometimes it's going to be hard because, like, the job will say, no, I want to give you a raise. And you're going to be like, wow, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I'm going to make any money traveling around singing. You just do it. You said, I followed my soul desire once. That's not how it works. This is going back to, again, dying in battle. My ancestors believed, my pre-Christian ancestors believed, that a warrior, if he died in battle, he went to Valhalla. He went to heaven. Became enlightened, whatever word you want to use. Now, they had this belief in honor and truth and all of that, and none of that had anything to do with it was difficult or I was afraid or I had doubts. None of it didn't include any of that. So when, here's how the process works. If you don't know, if you're not happy with your life, ask yourself, if I didn't have to make money and I didn't have to please anybody and I just did what made me happy, what would I be doing? Not what could I do or what can I get paid to do or what will make money? No. What would I do? That means I spend all day suspended by my big toe playing the kazoo through my nose, right? I don't know how anybody makes money doing that. If that's your soul desire, then once you realize that that's what gives you joy, then you make the commitment. You vow. This is what our ancestors did. They made vows to the gods. I vow to the gods that I will conquer that land. I will marry that woman. I will, whatever it is. they make a vow to the gods, or I will die trying. Means that they're prepared to go through a lot of pain and suffering. And if they die and don't get what they want, they go to Valhalla. They get rewarded for that. We live in a society that's based on how we feel. So the moment that somebody says, I want to do that, that's my path, I know that's my path, and they start to do it and doubt or real problems arise, or your parents or God or the government comes in and stops you, you go, okay, all right. Well, let's see, what can I do to get away with? I mean, I could work at Walmart. I mean, it wouldn't kill me. Yes, it will. So you know what your soul desire is. You tried it once and the doubt was strong, meaning you stopped doing it. You make the decision, you make the vow, I'm going to go do that, even if it kills me. And then that's what you do. At some point, you will need to quit your job, and you'll just have to trust that the universe will provide. And sometimes you won't know. You will be broke. Maybe I was. I was broke and sick. I talk about my health. The reason why I talk about my health so much and why I'm so proud of how healthy I am for my age is because not less than 10 years ago, I was trying to get on disability because I was in so much pain. And I was like, I don't even think I can work. So forget about working at Walmart. I didn't even think I could do that. And the only thing that changed that is I started surfing every day with no money and thought I was going to drown. I didn't care. All right, if I drown surfing and get eaten by a shark, that's better than my life now. This is what you got to do. So how do you do it? I don't know how. You just make the commitment, you go after it, and at some point you dislodge from that 9-to-5 job and you eat top ramen for a few weeks and you're happy. You hear people talk about this a lot, like couples when they were young. You remember when we first got married and we lived in that tiny apartment and we didn't have any money, but, we were living off of, we were eating peanut butter and top ramen, but we were making love every night and we were so happy. And, now they're old and have the house and the mortgage and the kids and they're miserable because they were going after what they wanted. Who cares about the 9-to-5? I'll tell you another story about a friend of mine. There's a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. We didn't see each other for a while. We reconnected about 5 years ago. And I was just out of that spot I told you about. I was doing what I wanted to do, but I was dirt fucking poor. And I was writing books and I was making videos and I was surfing. And I was starting to get healthy again. I was starting to get happy. But as far as money, I was deeply in debt and all kinds of stuff. And he was making a lot of money. He was making 6 figures and he had a house and he was complaining about his mortgage and the tax on his house. And I'd go, dude, I wish I had your fucking problems. And then he said, I really admire you. I wish I had your life. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm dirt poor. He's like, yeah, but you have so much freedom. And that's true. I don't work for anybody else. I do everything. I only do what I want. And he says, I have to go to this job. And he says, but I can't walk away from the money. And he was in real conflict about that. His sole desire was to be a musician. He was a good musician. He wasn't doing it. And he ended up getting a brain aneurysm. And then he couldn't do anything. He couldn't find a brain aneurysm and a stroke. He's my age. This is what happens when you are out of integrity. When you are not following your path, things start to break down. The internal conflict becomes so great, you have an aneurysm, a stroke, cancer, whatever. This is the body's way of saying, hey, stop. You are not following your soul desire. So you're not going to get any sympathy from me because of numerous times in my life I have jumped off that cliff and said, I have no idea how I'm going to survive, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And every single time I did that, it always turned out better for me. Every single time. That's what dying in battle means. You go to Valhalla. You reach your highest point. So, I hope I answered your question. Jedi Black Knight, question. Can we say that Orlog equals soul purpose plus soul desire? You can say that. Would I say that? Um, I would say that Orlog. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against that. Yeah, I can't say that that's wrong. I kind of want to make it Orlog is more soul purpose than soul desire, but I'm really just splitting hairs. So yeah, you can say that. He says, I've lately been getting more clarity on soul purpose. If I pursue this, will soul desire also find ways to manifest? So soul desire isn't looking for ways to manifest. Soul purpose is looking for ways to manifest. Soul desire is just that. It's when you're in fantasy land, and what is the one thing that makes me happy where I'm not taking care of other people? So if you're combining your soul purpose with being a good father or being a good this or being, serving society, now there's a possibility that really is your soul desire. I mean, like it's got to make you so happy. I would do it anyway. Please let me do it. But there can't be any of the I should or I'd be a better person. And this is where the conflict comes in, because a lot of times people can't tell the difference between what they want and what they think they want. When it comes to, a lot of times, same kind of thing. If we go back to the money thing, I'll ask people, what is it that, that you want to do? And they'll say, oh, I want to be rich. And I'm like, no, that's not a soul desire. That is, you think that money is going to give you freedom, which it won't. That money will give you the ability to do what you want to do, which it won't. You've got the cart before the horse. Money is the support the universe gives you when you do what makes you happy. When you do what makes you happy, the universe gives you money. Now, if you're like me, your soul purpose and your soul desire are linked, but they're not the same thing. My soul purpose is this. This is how I make money. But like I said, I do this anyway. I just figured out how to turn it into money. That's it. So if I didn't have to make money, I would still be doing this. I would still be doing this. But I do this so that I can make the money to surf or to travel. Like I'm going to go to Australia in a couple weeks and go surfing in Australia. That's what money does for me. It gives me the money to go fulfill my soul purpose. It's not about getting stuff to be safe. If I build up enough money and have enough savings and that stuff, there are people with billions of dollars who are dying horrific diseases. And there are people that have no money that are healthy and happy. So it's not about that. I think I answered your question. He says, will pursuing one also cause the other to align? Yeah, but the way that I understand it is you go after your soul desire first. Then the soul purpose will either manifest or you will figure it out. Again, my formula is do what you would do anyway. That's my soul purpose. That's your soul purpose too. Whatever it is that you would do anyway, that might not be directly associated to your fun, that's your soul purpose. And it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. This is really important. You could be horrible at it. I could name off a bunch of actors and a bunch of singers. There's this one commercial that keeps coming on the Roku channel that I have, and it's maybe you've seen it. And it's a bunch of rappers, and they're surrounding Elton John, and Elton John starts belting out his song, and they stop him and they give him a Snickers and say, you always get weird when you're not whatever. So he takes a bite of Snickers and he turns into this rapper. And the crap that comes out of that guy's mouth and the weird movements I'm like, what the hell is that? How can you look at that and say that that's art? What is that? Now, I'm an old fart, and so I don't get it. But there's so many people out there that are so untalented and they're making all kinds of money. And why is it? Because that's their soul desire. That makes him happy. Sitting around making stupid things and rapping nonsense and sounding ridiculous makes him happy. And it obviously makes other people happy because they pay him a lot of money to do it. He's following his soul desire. So don't judge whether or not what you do is good or not. It's not up to you. It's up to who wants to give you the money. I don't know why you people sit around and listen to me babble for 3 hours. I don't know why you do that and then buy stuff from me. But I don't care. If that's what it takes, and this is the easiest thing for me to do. I was making it too difficult. I was trying too hard. This is easy for me. I just hit play and I just babble. That's it. That's all you got to do, man. You just got to do it. It doesn't have to be good or right or anything. You just got to do it. And it's up to the universe and other people to decide whether or not it's good. And they'll probably like things that you don't. Okay? I could go on, but I'll stop there. Rami, question. Talking about bad luck, quote, is it possible that someone is failing to get something like a job because of bad luck, or not might be another reason, like that's not what he wanted? Well, I'm using bad luck in quotes because I'm trying to say that there is no such thing as bad luck. You're giving me a hypothetical, and I don't really want to answer a hypothetical. The best way to ask me questions is when you ask from your emotional state of being. You're asking me about some intellectual hypothetical. Doesn't mean anything to you. If you said to me, I want to get this job and they fired me or didn't hire me, is that my bad luck? Then I have a reason to answer the question because I can go to something that means something to you on an emotional level. Okay? Question. I have carved Algae's rune on my staff with this. Is this okay that I did this knowing how powerful they are? Yes. There's a difference between putting a tattoo on yourself, at least in my opinion. There's a difference between tattooing a rune on your body and carving a rune on your staff. Staffs are tools, and you want to actually put energy into them and put consciousness into them. You know, there's, is it the Philippines or is it Indonesia? I think it's Indonesia. Their indigenous tradition, they put energy into knives, and they create protector spirits for knives. And if you get one of these knives, they sell them. They're fake, but now they're a big tourist thing. You can buy them, and they have carvings on them and stuff like that. But if you get a real one, it'll protect you. And the idea is that when an enemy comes at you, you just hold the knife, and the knife fights for you. Because it's filled with energy. And it comes from somebody putting their energy and their consciousness into that. My teacher's teacher had a staff, and he used to sleep with it. And that meant he was a powerful guy. And he would practice with it, and he would put his energy into that staff. And that staff, man, if he just touched you with the staff, it was all kinds of crazy stuff would happen. So staffs, you definitely can put runes into them, for sure. Chant the rune into the staff. Chant the rune, the power of the rune into the staff. It's a tool. Putting it on your body, that's a, hey, look at me, I've got a, and I don't like that. That's just me, I don't like that. I think I answered your question. Skyclad Faye question, what would you do if you feel at that moment that you may veer off your true path? Do you meditate or say a mantra? Well, I don't know. Again, everybody's different. I gave an example earlier that I say to my Ishta, I trust you. Because we veer off of our path out of fear. We veer off of our integrity because we fear the universe won't give us something. Let's say somebody wants to steal from somebody. They're only stealing from somebody because they don't believe they're going to get what they need, so they want to take it from somebody else. So, easy one there. If somebody wants to steal from, somebody, they say, I trust you. I trust I'll get what I need. That's theirs. I trust I'll get what I need. I trust you. It's not even, please give me. It's just, I trust you. Because you don't know what you need a lot of the time. And, you think you need his money, but you actually might just need something else that doesn't require money. John Burnham, re-question. I don't know why he's re-questioning, but does origin law assume the self following the soul desire, whereas we flow the sine wave, you mean S-I-N-E wave, the sine wave of life, coming across positive and negative reward and challenge? Yeah, so, well, as I said, Orlog, the way I understand it, has within it the assumption that you are in integrity and following your path. And when you're in integrity and following your path, then you flow. You follow the flow then. That's when the flow works. So does it assume that you are, and then you said, whereas we flow the sine wave, so that sounds like you're making a distinction there. No, they're the same. I don't know what you mean by coming across positive and negative reward and challenge. Like I said, when you get the inspiration to go after what you want, you don't spend time worrying about reward versus challenge or positive versus negative or fear versus faith. You don't have that. I've made this example before. I'll make it again. Somebody's got a child that's sick. Let's imagine it's 5,000 years ago, and the healer is on the other side of the 10,000-foot mountain range, and the child is going to die in 48 hours if he doesn't climb that mountain. And there's a snowstorm, and there's bears and Sasquatches and evil spirits, but that's the shortest route, and if he doesn't climb over that mountain, he won't make it in time, and his child will die. Do you think that somebody says, yeah, but it's kind of cold up there? What if a bear comes at you? He's going to go, I've got to heal my child. We're both going to die. We're both going to die, but I'm going to do whatever I can to get him what he needs. This is what I mean by that. Flowing, positive, negative, this and that. This is all intellectual concepts. And we get all trapped in this intellectual concept stuff, and we do the stuff like in The Secret, and we go, don't focus on negative feelings because you'll attract that, and I feel good now, and then nobody does anything. They sit on their ass trying to feel good all day, and they're trying to feel good about things that they don't even really want. Like, I want 6 Mercedes-Benz, and I want a mansion, and you don't want that. You think that will give you the safety from the universe. You think it'll give you the safety from poverty. You don't know. That's somebody that has no clue what they want. When you know what you want, you just do it. And there have been times in most of the time in my life, I've been dirt poor. And I've been healthy most of the time. When I'm going after what I want, I'm always healthy. That's been my experience. Even whether I have money or don't have money, I'm always healthy. If I'm doing what I want. John Burnham. Yeah, all right. So again, I'm only going to respond to questions here. Please just ask questions. Fun cereal. Please write the word question. Otherwise, I don't know you're asking a question because, like I said, a bunch of people just throw out stuff, and I don't pay attention to that. But it looks like you have a question here. Hey, this doesn't really have to do with your video. Okay, right, well, then go somewhere else if you don't like what I'm saying. Matt Sweeney's beer question. Any advice for the older person who has already torn themselves up with bad choices, work, etc., and now ill and royally jacked up, basically on the way out? There's no difference. I thought at 39 I was old. I thought at 49 that I was old. I just came back from the gym before I did this. I'm 55. I don't take any medication. I was lifting more weight than I've ever lifted in my life, and I did it easily. Age means nothing. So you're sick. I don't know why you're sick. You didn't say sick. Torn themselves up with bad, you're ill. I don't know why you're ill, but I can promise you that if you go after what makes you happy, even if you think you can't do it, you will get better. If you're able to tolerate all of the negative feelings. You've made bad choices because you have made choices out of alignment from your soul desire because you thought that's what you needed to do to gain whatever it was you were trying to get. And the illness and the being torn up is the response of the universe saying, we're not going to help you with that. This is how death occurs. This is how disease occurs. It is a result of the lack of the flow of energy in your body. The energy will flow into your body if you're aligning with your soul. Your soul is the portal to infinite energy. When your soul is aligned, it is hooked up and infinite energy is flowing to you. Now you may get sick because you become, you start to detox. And sometimes people get sick and they detox from all the crap. And you detox emotionally as well. So it's no different. Doesn't matter. There's no excuse. I'm not going to give you an excuse that you're old now, you might as well just give up. I'm never going to do that. And by the way, I'm not going to do that because the universe isn't going to do that. All right. Lucid Planet, please ask a question. Otherwise, I'm not going to respond. Okay, so Rami changed his question according to my advice. So congratulations for that. Good for following direction. I think my question should be, he says, is it possible that they didn't want to hire me because of my bad luck? No. What do I keep saying about, taking responsibility? That's making yourself a victim of something outside of you. Or perhaps that's not what I wanted. So which one is it? Did you want it or did you not want it? All I hear from this question is that you are very conflicted and you don't know what you want, and that's okay. I keep saying to you to get a session with me, and I think in the past I've said you need therapy, and you showed me, you sent me an email, said you were in therapy. It makes me want to ask, are you still in therapy? I hope you are. You can take that question and sort of wrap it up and throw it away. My advice is always the same. It's never going to change. Go after what you want, regardless of how difficult it is. That's it. That's the formula. Sorry, that's how it works. Dharma Child question. On a macro collective level, is the repression of ancient gods archetypes like Woden in context to consciousness showing itself in the manifest world today? Okay, it's a long question. I'm not sure I understand it. Is the repression of ancient gods in context to consciousness showing itself in the manifest world today? Well, okay, so your question is too deep for me. I don't understand it. I think what you're asking is, are the gods manifesting? Yes. Here's how I understand it. So, look up the yugas. There's two different ways to look at yugas. People think now we live in Kali Yuga. I didn't say Kalo, I said Kali. People think we live in Kali Yuga, but we don't. We live in Dvapara Yuga. Kali Yuga was during the Middle Ages. At the height of Christianity was the deepest part of Kali Yuga. The height of Christianity is when the earth was the farthest away from the galactic center. According to the Hindu Vedic understanding, the earth revolves in an ellipse around a cosmic center. So here's the cosmic center, and here's Earth. When we're at the Golden Age, we're right here. When we're at Kali Yuga, we're way out here. This was Christianity. Now we're coming back around this way, and we're aligning up with where our ancestors were when they worshipped polytheism just before Christianity. And so what's happening is that those gods are manifesting again. Whether that's them reaching across from that side, whether it's because we're now in a vibration where they can manifest out of us, I don't know. But this is what I was talking about this yesterday. What I'm doing, this whole thing that I'm doing, is I am resynthesizing the ancient understandings of ritual and bringing the ancient understandings to a higher harmonic. That's my goal anyway, to bring what our ancestors did, understand that, and then synthesize it and bring it to the higher harmonic, because we're making our way back towards the galactic center. So they are manifesting, and I'm not the only one. I mean, Woden talked to me, Mother Hole talked to me, and that's what got me on the path. There are other people that have contacted me, and there are people in completely different cultures that, that the Germanic gods have appeared to. I talked last time about a guy, I think he's somewhere in the Southeast Asia or something like that, totally had no idea who Odin was, and Odin was appearing to him and was showing him runes. He had no idea what the hell he was looking at. And this guy does these really great, and he finally figured out what it was, and he started studying it. To my knowledge, he has no ethnic connection to the runes. Odin is appearing to all kinds of people now. It's because we're aligning back towards the galactic center, and now we're lined up to that time in history. We're looking across, and we're vibrating on that new level. Dharma child question: what is the dharma of the world at large? I don't know. It's not my problem. My dharma is my dharma. I don't worry about anybody else. That's none of my business. Are we in collective peril because we are out of alignment with the dharma of the world? No. Nope. We are in collective peril because we choose to make our caregivers happy. And people who are living in a society, the society is the parent of those people. The extreme example is communism. Extreme communism, like in North Korea. They worship that guy. He's the one. He gives us everything. He doesn't even shit. I'm saying that sounds like I'm joking, but they believe that the leader doesn't take a shit. He's so perfect. So in order to survive in that society, you got to please the society. We are in collective peril because our ancestors 2,000 years ago went out of alignment with the teachings of their ancestors. So the desire to please is a good desire when we align it with pleasing our ancestors. When we please our ancestors, we become aligned. My partner passed away almost a year ago to the day, and she and I still have a very strong connection, and she's not obviously in physical form anymore, but she definitely communicates to me through all kinds of things. And what was I saying? There are things when she was alive that she would have liked or been okay with in terms of my behavior. But that's when she was a human. And now that she's not a human, I can feel her taking me to higher levels, where it's like, yeah, that's what I would have done to impress her when she was alive or make her happy. And now she's pulling me into higher vibrations of things. And that's what the ancestors do. The ancestors know, they look back. They're not fettered by human frailty anymore, and they look back at being a human, and they want, just like all parents, I want you to have a better life than I had. And so that is a positive use of wanting to please. But instead, what we did, our ancestors walked away from the pleasing their ancestors, and they pleased this church and this empire and this king or whoever it was that said you have to destroy all the sacred sites and you have to do this and you have to worship this pathetic lamb who sacrificed himself and took other people's for the Dharma of the world, if I can use that, right? The sins of the world. It's like, that's none of your business. Don't take on somebody else's sins. That's their problem. Let them work through their own karma. You take away somebody's working through their karma, guess what happens? They become children. They become immature, destructive children. So that's why our society is all fucked up, because we walked away from our ancestors, and so we can't, I'm not responsible for what my neighbors do. I'm not responsible for that. It's none of my business. I don't go around with the gospel of Odin and tell people if they receive Odin as their savior, then I don't do that. It's none of my business. If somebody asks me, I'll help them. My job is to live my truth. And if that truth bums you out or pisses you off, tough shit. That's your problem. But when you do that, you set an example, and then people start asking, and then the dharma of the collective begins to rise. So it starts with you. Don't worry about anybody else. Fun cereal. Question. How to totally heal myself from chronic pain. I have a video on that. But if you want to know how to do that, there is one of my books. It's called The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. And you can go here, michaelwilliamdenny.com. Will take you to all my books on Amazon. If you follow what's in that, it will take care of everything. Just do what's in that book. Okay? It's the tiniest book that I have, and it's one of the cheapest things that I sell, and it is the foundation for everything. If you do what's in that book, everything else will fall into place. Okay, that's it. No more questions at the moment. I'm going to take a break, see if I have any more pithy things to say, and we'll take it from there. If there's any more questions, I'll answer them. If not, we'll call it an evening. All right, be back in a couple minutes. All right, let's see if there are any questions to answer. Rami, question, what is the difference between chanting Om or Ong? There is no difference. It's that Om is actually pronounced Om, O-N-G. You can close your mouth as an M, but it's that little dot you see above it, that little dot is an NG sound. Skyclad Faye, question. Are nature spirits, i.e. woodwives, regarding nature spirits, i.e. woodwives, do you think it is a good idea to try and reconnect them with these energies or not? Is it a good idea to try and reconnect who with what energies? Skyclad Faye, forgive me for saying so. I am noticing a theme in your questions. You're worried about other people. We call this codependence. This does not come from an honest desire to help. It comes from discomfort. Whatever you went through, I don't know your childhood, but whatever it was, made you feel uncomfortable when other people, you became responsible for other people. You had to fix other people. You didn't do it out of love, you did it out of fear. There is fight or flight in the reptilian brainstem. There's fight or flight, which is obvious. You either fight something or you run away from it. Survival. There's also tend and befriend. In caveman times, the caveman would have to go out and fight the giant saber-toothed tiger or run away from it. Or there was another caveman tribe, and they would come over and attack you because they wanted your cave. And the men would go out and fight or flight, and the women would stay at home with the children, and they would tell them everything is okay, or they would go out and try and make friends. It's not coming from a desire to love, it is coming out of fear. If this keeps coming up, this desire, the dharmic path of everybody, should we reconnect? It's you. This is called projection. You are projecting onto others your fears, your fear of not being reconnected. It's about you, but the way you deal with it is you project it onto others. The way to heal is to stop worrying about others and start healing yourself. Okay? Dharma Child question. From your perspective, how do you interpret the biblical scripture where so-called Christ said, seek ye first the kingdom and all will be revealed unto thee? Well, I've thought about doing, again, another video on the Gospel of Thomas. Not the Gospel, the Gospel. Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas might be the very first Christian gospel ever written. It might be the gospel from which all the other gospels were written and altered. So the first Christians didn't worship a guy named Jesus of Nazareth. They worshiped the idea of the Savior Hanotzri, which sounds like from Nazareth. But anyway, bottom line is that the Jesus in that gospel is very different from the Jesus of the other gospels. And he says things like, seek, he says, you've read the verse, seek and you shall find. He says, keep on seeking until you find. When you find, you will become disturbed. And then you will marvel and reign over all. He says things like a lot of other things like that. So seek ye first the kingdom and all will be revealed to you. to understand what that means, you have to understand what the original Gnostic Jesus, which wasn't a real person, what he was saying. That one, seek ye first the kingdom, is the later understanding where they believed that the kingdom of God was going to descend, like the rapture and whatever. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all will be revealed. And then they interpret that as going to church, doing the right thing, paying your taxes, don't have sex, don't whatever. But I think it's a misunderstanding. And we're really off topic now. All right, so I don't see any other questions. And so I am going to call it an evening. So I just don't have the chutzpah in me tonight to do all the selling. I will. Let's talk about this for a second. Where did it go? astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com and runecertification.thunderwizard.com. If you want to learn the kind of astrology that I teach, and I teach a very specific niche astrology which is focused on practical things that you can do, like how to talk to your Ishta Devata to get you through issues. If you want to learn how to do that and you want to start your own astrology business, you can. You can also be certified by me, and I'll put you on my website. And for free, you're paying for the certification and the study, and then on top of that, I give you a free web page. And every time I point to that, people will see your beautiful face in your video, and perhaps they'll get an astrology reading from you. And I'm going to do the same with Rune Certification, runecertification.thunderwizard.com. So people keep asking me, where do I go for that? There you go. All right, then. And then qigong.thunderwizard.com. That's where you get, if you want to go learn the method of unifying the three ones, which I'm going to be teaching very soon. I'm going to start phase 1 very soon, which will eventually give you a technique. If you have empowered all three of the selves and you are in alignment, it can give you the ability to simply intend your reality by thinking about it. Thunderwizard.com if you want to learn true shamanism from the ground up. Also, if you want to support this channel, one of the ways to do that is to subscribe at thunderwizard.com. Even at the $25 level, every month you will get access to all of the private videos, including all of the step-by-step instructions in shamanism that go all the way from the basics all the way to energy work, mantra, ritual, all that kind of stuff. Runes. MichaelWilliamDenny.com is where you get all of my books. If you want to see where all my DVDs are, you can go to videos.thunderwizard.com, I believe. Let's see, is that on here? Nope. Then there's transformation.thunderwizard.com, and I have been told numerous times that it really was transformational. runereadings.thunderwizard.com if you want a rune reading from me, looking at the 9 aspects of your personality, and either take a look at you, or if you have a specific question, we can see what's happening with that. All right, that's everything that seems to have fallen out of my face for the time being. Astronomical Hero, welcome. Looks like you're brand new. Please write questions so I know you're asking a question. You seem new to my channel. I would recommend that you watch my videos, read my books so that you can ask questions pertaining to what I teach, as opposed to just throwing out a random question here. Is life about free will or destiny? Neither, and both. Go back and watch this video from the beginning. I think I answer that. Johannes Elias A.P. Rauer question. Do I have to learn about Vedic or Indian terminology to learn in depth on Aryo-Germanic shamanism, mysticism? If I'm wrong, please correct me so I can walk the correct path. You don't have to do anything. If you want to learn from me, just go buy my books. I explain it all to you. One of my books, not Mounting Sleipnir, but I forget one of the Sleipnir books. I talk about how the Vedic Sanskrit name for the gods and the name of the Germanic gods are the same. If you go back far enough, you'll see how they're the same words. So you don't have to, but if you want to see that, I teach that. Go get the books and read it. But to answer your question, you don't have to do anything. If you want to start on my path, go get the Thunder Wizard path and watch that. And binge watch my videos. I explain all of that stuff. Question, what is included in the Rune certification? Go to the runecertification.thunderwizard.com, and I probably have a video explaining it. But it's more than just certification. It is a website that has all of my, and there are copious videos. I don't even know how many videos there are. There are so many videos that I've made on the runes, generally and specifically. Some of them are public, some of them are only paid, some of them are subscription only. I put them all into one place so that you could have absolutely everything on video that you can. When you become certified, if you become certified, by the way, you can take that and then start your own rune, reading business if you want. You don't have to be certified by me. If you do get certified by me, then what happens is that I give you a page on my website. You'll have everybody who's certified there will be the rune readings page, and there will be people can buy from me, which is more expensive, or they can buy from you, which will be less expensive. And then you will have your own web page, skycladfae.thunderwizard.com, and then you can have your own web page, and you can give that out to people when you're advertising your business. And if you have links to anything else of yours, give it to me and I'll put it on there. And that will be there forever. And that in and of itself is worth what it costs just to get certified, in my opinion. I'll give you a free website, for goodness sake. And I think I answered your question. Astronomical Hero question, what is the key to forgiveness? I did talk about that. It's a long subject. The key to forgiveness is first seeing how you have indulged in your resentment. You don't need to forgive somebody unless you're resentful. You're not resentful unless you, number one, don't trust the universe. And I'm not judging you. I've got my own resentments. You don't trust the universe, because if you trust the universe, then you don't need to be mad at somebody else for what they did or didn't do for you. But if you're still thinking about what somebody did to you, it means you're not believing the universe will heal you of it. And it means that you don't understand what you did to perhaps provoke that or invest in that, or how you reacted to it. So it's a really long subject, but the key to forgiveness is get the fuck over yourself and try and, it's not as easy to do this, but one thing is to try and find compassion. My brother just was horrific to me as a kid. He used to emotionally and psychologically torment me, and physically he would beat me up every now and then. And I actually had PTSD over it. When I was in my early 20s, I couldn't sleep because I couldn't get the videos in my head of me breaking every bone in his body. And I finally tried to face him. Of course, I was twice his size by the time I had the guts to face him, and he crumbled. And then for years I walked around, what do I do with all this rage now? And thankfully I didn't do anything stupid. But my brother now has $30,000 in the bank, and he's homeless, and he lives in his truck and Walmart parking lot. And the only thing that keeps him from going to the bank and getting his $30,000 is that he's too proud to go and get in a halfway house and follow rules and do whatever it is that they demand of him to do in order to get an ID card so that he can get back into society. I don't know how he lost his license. He drives his truck around, but he doesn't have an ID or a license. And he, you see how robust I am. He was even better built than me, naturally. Really strong, physically very strong guy. And apparently he's now really skinny and he's bent over and walks with a cane. And he's probably getting close to death. But he's too proud to go follow some rules somewhere and get an ID card and get his $30,000 and get his life back together. And that is because he is full of resentment. He is full of rage. And it's very hard for me to be resentful at him because there's really nothing I could do to him that would be anywhere near as bad as what he's done to himself. So compassion is a good way to forgive people. And anybody that has harmed you is somebody who didn't see the value of you, the beauty and the infinity that is you. It's very sad. That's sad. I feel sad for them. And if you can try that, that might help. Rami, question, are the gods of humans over the world might share the same essence? What? I don't understand the question. Are the gods of humans over the world might share the same? I don't know what you're asking. Okay, that's it. No more questions. Thank you, my friends. We see you next time. Until then, remember, there is only the present moment. And in the present moment, you make assumptions, you choose to believe things, and you take actions. Those actions are cemented in the past, the moment that you make them, and they create a future debt, karma that you have to live. If you want to avoid negative karma, unpleasant karma, then the Buddhists tell you stay mindful. And this is, I'm not a Buddhist, but this is a great exercise from a shamanic perspective. Just meditate and breathe and watch your thoughts go by. And then go, wow, normally I would react like this or I would react like that. And try doing the opposite. Speaking of my brother, I'll end with this. My brother is the best teacher I've ever had. That's because I've known him a long time. And I've watched him a long time. He and I have been programmed in the same exact way, which is why I know exactly why he's where he is. I know it because that would be me, except for one thing. The difference between me and him is that I learned, and I was forced, out of humiliation, out of desperation, I was forced to learn how to take actions I didn't want to take, what they call contrary action. I learned how to do that. And I made it, not only did I learn how to do it, I made it a habit. And so when I am scared and in pain, and I get into that same place that he and I both share that was created because of how we grew up, I ask myself, what would my brother do? And then I play it out in my head, and then I do the exact opposite. Because I know if I do what he does, I'm going to end up where he is. And if I do the opposite of what he does, I'm going to end up successful and happy, no matter how embarrassing or humiliating or frightening that action is. And so I give that to you. Try that in meditation. Meditate and let your thoughts go by and let your feelings come up. And ask yourself, what is it that I normally do about this? Like I was sort of giving somebody a hard time for always trying to fix other people. Every time that the impetus comes up to fix somebody else, stop and do the exact opposite of what you think you're not supposed to do, because if you do, you'll be selfish. Be selfish. I'm one of the most selfish people I know, and I'm proud of it. Because my selfishness is ideally aligned in towards my soul desire. And if I act on that selfishness, I will only help everybody else in the world. If I act contrary to that, I will harm myself and everybody else. All right, that's it for me this weekend. I'll see you again soon. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be off in Australia for 2 weeks, so you may or you may not hear from me. But I would like for you to intend for me to have the best surfing of my life. That's what I'm looking for. I want your help to do that. Imagine me having the best surfing of my life and to come back with really crazy bitchin' videos that I can show you guys. That's what I want to do, among other things. All right, that's it for me, my friends. I see you the next time.